Hello, my name is Michelle Eddy. I'm a director of the Virginia Court Reporting Association, and I have been a reporter for over 30 years and a real-time reporter for the last 20. On behalf of the association, I decided to make this video to help all court reporters with new terms we may be encountering since the start of the pandemic. We call it the COVID-19 term sheet. I'm a briefaholic. I like briefs. They make my life easier. So I would encourage you to brief as much as possible in order to write more accurately. There's a term sheet you can download from the VCRA.net website, and it will aid you when viewing this video and practicing. Go ahead and pause this video now to download the COVID-19 term sheet. I've tweaked a list of terms I found on the learntocaption.com site that I would like to share and have suggested briefs and practice material. Today's video covers just the letters A and B. So I will read the word, spell it, and I may give you a definition. I will say the word a few times for you to write on your steno machine or use if you're a voice writer, and give you a moment to think about a brief, give you my suggestion, give you a moment to put it in your dictionary, say the word a couple more times, and then give you practice material using that word in hopes that you learn to write the new term consistently accurate. I may repeat the practice material a couple times in hopes that sticks in your brain. So let's start out with the word COVID-19. You definitely need a brief for this term. Take a moment and think about one. Nothing comes to mind? Try using my suggestion, COEFD with an asterisk. Of course, it's not a C, is it? It's a K. I think about the K being a C. It's KOEFD. So if you're not a natural briefer, don't worry. Pause the video and take a few minutes. I emphasize briefing because it will make your life easier and help you write cleaner. Briefing really helps when the testimony is fast and there's technical words that come up that you've never written before. Sometimes I don't brief until I really have to brief. But if given the opportunity of practicing before a deposition, because I know the terms that are going to come up and coming up with briefs ahead of time, I can tell you it has saved my butt many times. So let's begin. If you have your term sheet in front of you, you know we've just mentioned the word COVID-19. You've come up with your brief, correct? Okay. That word will come up later in some testimony, but we're not going to practice it right now. We're just going to go forward with starting with A. The first term on the sheet is ADAR, an acronym, ADAR. Maybe they'll say ADAR or ADAR, but it stands for Adenosine Deaminase RNA Specific. That's a mouthful. Adenosine Deaminase RNA Specific. I'm going to move on to the next word. ARDS. Maybe it'll be pronounced ARDS. ARDS is the acronym for, as we all probably know already, Acute Respiratory Distress Syndrome. So let's write ARDS, ARDS. How are you going to brief it? Take a moment, come up with a brief. Mine is suggested on the term sheet as ARDZ. That's right. So when they say ARDS or ARDS as an acronym, I would just write ARDZ. How will you write it? So the acronym ARDS needs its own brief and I'm suggesting ARDS. But when they say acute respiratory distress syndrome, now you've just written that twice because I've said it twice. They're going to say it that fast, aren't they? Acute respiratory distress syndrome. We can't write that fast unless it's one stroke on the machine. So how will you write when they say that phrase? What will you write? I like to write phrases for me with an asterisk, and maybe you don't. So you can see on my sheet, I have an asterisk in ARDS to be the phrase, or I suggest just the word cute, K-A-O-U-T, with an asterisk. Because the first thing here is acute. But then if you want to brief acute, you need something for that too, and that will come up. So let's do acute respiratory syndrome. Write your brief, put it in your dictionary. And what are you going to do when we just say ARDS or ARDS? What brief is that? Put that in your dictionary. And now we will practice, okay? I will go ahead and read a few sentences and repeat it, maybe 2 or 3 times. Make sure that you have your brief down. I'll try to read it at a reasonable rate. All right, here we go. Acute respiratory distress syndrome, or ARDS, is a type of respiratory failure characterized by rapid onset of widespread inflammation in the lungs. Symptoms include shortness of breath, rapid breathing, and bluish skin coloration. For those who survive, a decreased quality of life is common. Now, there were some words in there. They're going to come up all the time. I'll cover them later. Respiratory failure. Debrief respiratory might be a good idea. I do REPS with an asterisk. How will you do it? Let's write, I'm going to go ahead and read that again. Ready? Acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS, is a type of respiratory failure characterized by rapid onset of widespread inflammation in the lungs. Symptoms include shortness of breath, rapid breathing, and bluish skin coloration. For those who survive, a decreased quality of life is common. How do you feel about that? You can pause the video and go back and do it again if you need to. Okay, let's go to the next word, acute. Probably already in your dictionary, hopefully, as brief. It's a common medical term. So how will you write it? What will you be your brief? Mine is K-A-O-T with an asterisk, coot. Because I've used K-A-O-U-T with an asterisk for acute respiratory syndrome, distress syndrome. I've also used ARDS with an asterisk because sometimes I like a couple briefs in case my brain isn't quite thinking right. I do that a lot. Okay, so what are you going to do for acute? Go ahead and decide, put it in your dictionary, write the word acute, acute, acute. All right, here's the sentence. Ready? Her symptoms were acute for 4 days. They were not acute until after she had seen her mother, gave her a hug, and forgot to wash her hands. Okay, let's read that again. Her symptoms were acute for 4 days. They did not become acute until she hugged her mother and forgot to wash her hands. Next word, adenine, spelled A-D-E-N-I-N-E. As you can see on the term sheet, it means a purine base, C5H5N5, that codes hereditary information in the genetic code in DNA and RNA, or a compound which is one of the 4 constituent bases of nucleic acids. A purine derivative, it is paired with thymine in a double-stranded DNA. Adenine, adenine, adenine. What are you going to do for a brief? I'm going to do dene with an asterisk, D long E, N, or I might do add, A-D, and then come back another stroke with nine with an asterisk. Again, I like to give myself options. How are you going to write adenine? A-D-E-N-I-N-E. How will you write that? Now I will read some text so you can incorporate your new brief. Ready? Adenine, organic compound belonging in the purine family, occurring free in T or combined in many substances of biological importance, including the nucleic acids, which govern hereditary characteristics of all cells. Adenine is a purine base. Adenine is one of 4 chemical bases in DNA. Adenine is an organic compound belonging to the purine family. I think we've got that straight, right? Okay, let's move to the next word. Adenosine, A-D-E-N-O-S-I-N-E. Adenosine, adenosine. How will you write that as a brief? You can see my suggestion there. I'm going to write den, scene, both with asterisks. Let's practice. Adenosine. Adenosine is a nucleoside that is composed of adenine and D-ribose. Adenosine, or adenosine derivatives, play many important biological roles in addition to being components of DNA and RNA. For instance, adenosine plays an important role in energy transfer as adenosine triphosphate and adenosine diphosphate. So if you have a chemist, this is going to come up. And if you've briefed adenosine, you're going to be able to write triphosphate and diphosphate a lot faster if you're writing it out. Of course, those words are coming up multiple times. Brief them, right? Okay, let's do the adenosine one more time. Adenosine is a nucleoside that is composed of adenine, and D-ribose. Adenosine or adenosine derivatives play many important biological roles in addition to being components of DNA and RNA. For instance, adenosine plays an important role in energy transfer as adenosine triphosphate and adenosine diphosphate. Okay, next page is the word adenovirus. It looks like it should be adenovirus, but I looked it up on Merriam-Webster and it pronounced it adenovirus. 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 No, adenovirus. That's what I heard. Adenovirus. I don't hear the E. Adenovirus. So what is an adenovirus? Any of a family of double-stranded DNA viruses originally identified in human adenoid tissue, causing infections of the respiratory system, conjunctiva, and gastrointestinal tract, and including some capable of inducing malignant tumors in experimental animals. Adenovirus. How will you write that? Adenovirus, advirus. How are you writing virus? V-I-R-U-S. I would write it V, long I-R-S. How are you writing it? I hope it's one stroke. Let's read that again. Adenovirus. Any of a family of double-stranded DNA viruses originally identified in human adenoid tissue, causing infections of the respiratory system, conjunctiva, and gastrointestinal tract, and including some capable of inducing malignant tumors in experimental animals. Severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus, SARS-CoV, emerged in 2002 as an important cause of severe lower respiratory tract infection in humans. Let's stop there. Severe, I hope you have as one word. Acute, but I said acute respiratory syndrome, correct? So hopefully you have respiratory as one word again. And it's not ARDS or ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. So it's what I just read was a severe acute respiratory syndrome. How are you writing those words? Easily? One stroke? Let's hope so. Okay, how about coronavirus? That'll come up in the C's, but it's going to come up in a lot of the testimony or the text that I'm reading to you that I've gotten off the internet. So how are you going to write coronavirus? Let's come up with a brief, think of something. I personally am going to write it K-O-R-F with an asterisk. Corf. Just because sometimes my F I use as my V, and that makes sense to me. It may not make sense to you. How about SARS? S-A-R-S, the acronym SARS. It's pretty easy. I think we probably all would write it S-A-R-Z. Maybe not. Maybe you'd write it S-A-R-S with an asterisk. How about COVID? That'd be 2 strokes. But could we do something easier? Could we do K-O-V with an asterisk? That's actually K-O-F with an asterisk. Or maybe K-O-E-F, COVE, with an asterisk for COVID. How about SARS-CoV? Are you going to write it in 3 strokes? Hope not. SARS-CoV, maybe 2 strokes? Okay, let me read that again. Hopefully giving you some time to put it in your dictionary. Severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus, SARS-CoV, emerged in 2002 as an important cause of severe lower respiratory tract infection in humans. And in vitro models of the lung are needed to elucidate cellular targets and the consequences of viral infection. The SARS-CoV receptor, human angiotensin 1 converting enzyme 2, was detected in ciliated airway epithelial cells of human airway tissues derived from nasal or tracheobronchial regions, suggesting that SARS-CoV may infect the proximal airways. A lot of words there. Let's do it again. Ready? Severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus, SARS-CoV, emerged in 2002 as an important cause of severe lower respiratory tract infection in humans. And in vitro models of the lung are needed to elucidate cellular targets and the consequences of viral infection. The SARS-CoV receptor, human angiotensin 1 converting enzyme 2, was detected in ciliated airway epithelial cells of human airway tissues derived from nasal or tracheobronchial regions, suggesting that SARS-CoV may infect the proximal airways. So I noticed that airway comes up a lot. That would be a good word to have on our list. And I'm looking at my sheets as I'm talking to you now, wondering why it's not on there, because I think it was on there at some point. How would you write airway in one stroke? Can you do it in one stroke? How about just AER? Could that be airway for you? Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next word. Azar. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Azar, maybe? Alex Azar is the U.S. Health Secretary. Alex M. Azar II was sworn in as the 24th Secretary of Health and Human Services on January 25th, 2018. I imagine his name is going to come up a lot. Azar. Could you just do Zar, Z-A-R with an asterisk? Alex Azar. Mr. Azar. Okay, let's write it. Alex Azar II was sworn in as the 24th Secretary of Health and Human Services on January 25, 2018. He has spent his career working in both the public and private sectors as an attorney and in senior leadership roles focused on advancing healthcare reform, research, and innovation. Secretary Azar has laid out 3 guiding strategies for HHS's programs. Alex Azar. Put it in your dictionary. All set? Okay, next word. Alveolus and alveoli. It means any of the many tiny air sacs of the lungs which allow for rapid gaseous exchange. Alveolus, alveoli. 4 strokes? Yuck. How will you write those? Is there an easy way of doing it? Maybe 2 strokes if you can't brief it? Alveolus, AFL, us, elf us, elves us. What do you think? Come up with something. Alveolus, alveoli, alveolus, alveoli. It means any of the many tiny air sacs of the lungs which allow for rapid gaseous exchange. Do we have that down? Alveolus, alveoli. And alveolus is a word used in anatomy for hollow cavities, which are empty areas within a body. Although there are many different types of alveoli in the body, the word alveoli is usually used to talk about small air sacs in the lungs of mammals. These are also called pulmonary alveoli. Do we have that word down? Alveolus, Alveoli. Okay, let's go to the next word, animal-human interface. Animal-human interface, 6 strokes. Could we come up with one stroke for that? Animal-human interface. Do you want to come up with one stroke? I think so. What do you think? Okay, let's read some text and it'll come up. Ready? Confirming the identity of an intermediate host through web lab experimentation is a difficult process, and researchers may never nab the definitive culprit. You can test thousands of bats, but to get the coronavirus, you have to catch them on the day they're shedding it, says Karish. He explains that it's now several months since the initial animal to human SARS-CoV-2 transmission occurred, and the coronavirus circulation in animals may have dropped off, which would make the original strain even harder to find. So animal-human came up, animal-to-human came up. Maybe we just need one stroke for animal, one stroke for human, because it could be animal-human interface, animal-to-human. Might be different variations. Can you come up with one stroke for animal? How about human? Think about it. A-N-L with an asterisk. Human, hume, H-long-U-M with an asterisk. Just off the top of my head here. Okay. SARS-CoV-2 came up. So we've already had SARS-CoV. About SARS-CoV-2. I'm just going to add the 2. Possibly, if you've come up with one stroke for SARS-CoV, we've probably come up with a stroke for SARS, and CoV is another stroke. SARS-CoV-2, could it be S-A-R... SARS, TS. Come up with something.